With the recent news regarding the poor quality of the Goldeneye port that released on the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox and Xbox Series consoles, I was thinking back to a discussion that has plagued the gaming community for a long time. It's a rather dividing topic, but it's an important topic. That is the topic of emulation versus real hardware. In my eyes, many emulators have reached the point where the differences between console and emulator are pretty much indiscernible. The two emulators that I'm most familiar with that are accurate are the Dolphin for GameCube and Wii emulators, and then Higgin for the SNES. The accuracy of Dolphin is high enough that Smash Bros. Melee players will use Dolphin to train, practice online, and even compete for real money using netplay. This community is known for being very strict about what they use to play, and they often still only use CRTs at many of their venues. This is because Melee itself requires some moves to be performed at a frame-perfect level. There are 60 frames in 1 second. It's about 16 milliseconds for one frame. That is a very small window and goes to show you how accurate this emulation actually is. With all that being said, these open source emulators tend to be pretty close to the console experience. For a short period of time, I was pretty elitist about using real hardware only. But, as of late, with high quality emulation, I just can't tell the difference. I will be honest though, there is some sort of je ne sais quoi, or magic that's just missing. I don't know if anyone feels the same way, but let me know in the comments. But basically, emulation and console hardware are pretty much on par, is what I'm trying to say. Now, the issue that I have with emulation these days comes from when the people who actually own the intellectual property, such as Nintendo, release said emulated games with inaccurate emulation. Most recently, we've had Nintendo 64 emulator for the Switch that is just plagued with input lag, visual inaccuracies such as the fog in the starting area of Ocarina of Time, and then the Water Temple Darkling fight where the water doesn't look proper at all. Then there are just previous N64 releases on the Wii U were all extremely dark, and then go back further to the GameCube, and the release of Majora's Mask was plagued with frame rate issues and crashing if the game was just left running long enough, I believe. This isn't limited to just Nintendo either. The PlayStation 4 port of The Warriors, which is just a PS2 emulation, is absolutely terrible. In one of the opening large-scale fights in the game that aren't even the biggest fights you encounter, there's such a massive slowdown where it's borderline unplayable. That isn't even like that on an actual PS2. Many official emulation releases of games lately just have absolutely egregious performance or accuracy issues. In cases like this, the benefits of playing on original hardware are easy to see over emulation. But those benefits only come from when the intellectual property owners make absolute complete jokes of themselves with these games. The fact that there's just open source emulation that already exists that is just so far superior, yet they release garbage is just honestly astounding. When it comes down to actually deciding between, hey, do I want to use original hardware or do I want to use an accurate open source emulator? It really comes down to if you prefer the convenience of emulation, or if you really want to squeeze that 1% of accuracy out, sometimes less with some quality emulators. And also that authenticity of playing with a real controller with real hardware in front of a CRT or using your RetroTink on an HD TV. If you wanted to set up an emulator on a Pi like that, I'm pretty sure you can add lagless composite as well to a Pi very easily and then get a high quality controller. Or get an adapter and use a real controller. It really comes down to convenience versus authenticity, as there are very little perceivable benefits of using a real console if you're using an accurate emulator. If you want to be able to just boot up emulation within seconds on your desktop, or have a dedicated space with old consoles hooked up for that last bit of accuracy and feelings of nostalgia, then go for it. I do both. I enjoy both. There's nothing wrong with either. Emulation is just that accurate these days if you're picking the proper plugins and the proper emulators. There is no definitive answer and it's all preference. It didn't used to be like this back in the day. A lot of the time, emulators were very inaccurate, and a lot of the newer emulators are still inaccurate. Especially, all the new PlayStation or Xbox 360 or Switch, but they're getting there. It's becoming accurate. It's starting to get really good. With all that being said, emulation is the future going forward, as consoles have proprietary chips that will die over time. Chips that are covered by legal licenses and chips that contain code that Nintendo has the rights to, for example. Or even the chip is a custom-made chip that they have the rights to. Thank you for watching the video. I'm a little sick right now if you can tell, but I thought I'd make a video anyway. I'm really excited about releasing this video because I've always been interested in doing opinion pieces on things that matter in the community. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Thank you!